All right, guys, welcome to episode 2 of the PAWNCAST, where we interview business owners and entrepreneurs and dive into their brains, and hopefully they can teach us some shit. So I'm your host, Redbeard. This is my co-host, Hermes, and this is our special guest, Dustin. So let's get into it.
All right, so if we could be any piece on the chessboard, what would it be and why?
So when I started in business, I kind of had the mentality like I was the king on the board because I thought I was Mr. Hotshot.
Okay.
So when you start out, before you get humbled, which business will do that to you, when you start out before you get humbled, you think you're top of the world, you think nothing can touch you, and you realize you're just like everybody else and you're touchable.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I first got going, it was definitely king, queen. You think you're top of that board. You think everything's about you. You realize quickly it's not.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. You think you're hot shit, and then business hits you, and you're like,
Yeah, then reality sets in and those bills start rolling in.
Uh-huh.
People start demanding things, and that it humbles you real fast.
you're like, king now.
Yep.
Hell
You're
yeah.
a king now, want to quit the game real quick.
Tap out, I'm tapping. Tapping out, I'm done. Fuck this. Hell yeah.
I'm like Charles.
Hell yeah, that's dope. All right, dude. So, well, I guess on the PAWNCAST we try to change your mind, right? So the goal is to get you to think like a pawn and be the pawn mentality. And what the pawn mentality is constantly pushing forward and getting help from your friends and peers and individuals who are, you know, in your game you believe is higher than you. You know what I mean? So maybe a mentor or whatever, whoever it is, somebody, a grandpa, grandma. It doesn't matter who it is, you know what I mean, but somebody that you believe is on a higher level than you. And if you constantly push forward one step at a time, just like a pawn, and you get to the other end of the board, you get to promote to whatever it is you want to become. And that's kind of the pawn mentality, and what we've tried, or what we are trying to create and get you guys to understand is to be humbled like Dustin here and realize that being the king ain't all it's fucking cracked up to be.
We're gonna need you but humble.
What do you mean?
But it's actually low.
I'm calm, goddammit.
Humble about certain things.
Humble about other things, not so much. Hey, dude, when you're right, you're right. It is what it is. If you don't like it, fuck them.
Very true.
Well, you guys need to let you close.
Facts. Facts. The Emilio theory. Just remember, watch out for your wives.
All right, so what business or businesses do you own?
So I own a diesel and auto repair shop. Dude, so light, medium, diesel performance, general auto repair, anything along those lines is the business I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had that business now for 7 years.
7 years.
And the business name is
ACR.
Insert plug.
ACR Diesel and Auto Repair.
Right here.
Right here.
Here's the link.
No,
Over there.
One of the sides. It's over here, over here.
Oh man, 7 years. So you had the business for 7 years.
7 years.
Okay. What made you start your business? Like, you know?
So it was actually a completely fluke thing for me starting a business. So I worked for another auto repair shop in Kingman. I was just a basic guy, started out as a tire changer, moved up to a mechanic, started doing stuff in the office. While I was working for them, I was going to school. At that time was EMT school. I went to NAU. I had my bachelor's degree through them because I was pursuing a medical degree because I was going to go to PA school, become a physician's assistant. So I was kind of working my way up. I was going to become an EMT, so I was in the field while I went to school, kind of bettered my knowledge from both aspects. So when I was working for them, school was getting too hectic to where I was having to take off 1 full day a week. Then it turned into 2 full days a week. So then I felt like I wasn't offering them as much time as what they deserved.
The company.
The company I was working for, yeah.
Okay.
So I wasn't offering them as much time as what they deserved because here I am working the front counter and I'm having to take off 2 days a week. Over a 5-day work week doesn't really work very well.
So you're working 3 days a week. How did they feel about that?
So they were very willing to work with me. It was like I wouldn't take lunches on the other day so that way I could cover for the other guys. I would work every Saturday to kind of make up for it. Things like that, but I felt like I was inconveniencing more than I was helping.
Okay.
So in the meantime of doing that with them, they only did tires and very light mechanical, like belts, water pumps, suspension work. I had built a relationship with a lot of the customers and started doing side work at my house in the evenings and the weekends for major repairs.
Heavier.
Engine jobs, head gasket job, headline stuff, heavy line stuff. So I finally hit a point with them where I was making more on nights and weekends doing the side work stuff than I was for them. So I told them, hey, I appreciate the opportunity you've given me. I don't feel like I'm offering you what you deserve, so I'm gonna step aside. I'm gonna do this side work to give myself the freedom for school that I need and make the money on the side. So that's what I did. I stepped away from them in 2016 and started doing this essentially full time. It was kind of just off the books, kind of a side gig thing. Shortly after that, I got pretty steady with it. So then I got a business license, figured I'll just cover myself, do it kind of the legitimate way. All with still the intention of continuing school. That first full year I was in school full time, doing the business full time. And then within about a year and a half of getting it rolling, I realized I had a better potential to make more money doing this without burying myself in more student debt, and decided to put school on pause because I finished my bachelor's degree. I was ready to move into my graduate program essentially. So when that position happened and the business was doing well, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on applying to graduate school. I'm gonna give this a couple years. I was kind of burnt out on school anyway, so it was a perfect timing. Figured I'd give it a couple years to see how this business went, and that was 5 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
No more school.
No more school.
Fuck no.
Got a bachelor's degree in emergency management that I haven't used since I got it. Have 3 associate's degrees that have nothing to do with business whatsoever. Had about 40 grand in student debt that means absolutely nothing to what I currently do. And here I am now, not thinking about going back to school and owning my own business every day.
Wow.
That was good.
That's quite the fucking,
That was good.
that's quite the jump right there, huh?
Yeah, so I went from, if I would have continued the path I was going on, I would have been a PA, so a step under a doctor, physician's assistant.
Okay.
I would have been probably about $250,000 in debt, and probably would have been making between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. Maybe could have gone up to 3 if I would have specialized and gone into a real special field, but that would have been working a lot of hours, putting in a lot of time, being at the risk of being sued by people all the time in the medical field, and now I don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Wow, so you gave up $200,000 to $300,000, well, okay, $100,000 to $300,000 a year. You said fuck it
Yep,
to be a mechanic.
to be a mechanic.
Now I gotta ask this question. How many people told you you were a fucking dumbass for doing that?
Just about everyone that I talk to. Because everybody has that old school mentality. School and a career working for somebody else is more important and more safe than anything else. And don't get me wrong, the safety net, I can see where they come from on that, because there is a lot of unknowns in business. There's a lot of things that you have to work through your uncomfortable aspects, because there's things where it's not a comfortable decision you have to make, or you get tight on money, but you got to push through and see what's on the other side of it. And there's a lot of people that didn't understand. They can't see past that. They see a paycheck, not you work for 6 months and get a big reward at the end. They want that reward every week from their paycheck. And they all told me I was an idiot for giving up school. They told me I was an idiot for not going into the medical field. They thought I was dumb for doing all kinds of things.
And here we are.
And now half those people that think I was dumb for doing that bring their cars to me and have them fix them. So you gotta love how the world turns out.
Isn't that interesting? Turn your haters into your fans. And now you're in a garage with a bunch of idiots talking about your business.
Yep.
Fucking come on.
Look at the way that world works.
Alright, so starting your business, do you face any issues or anything like that? Like, what's the biggest struggle about starting it?
Starting up, the biggest thing is getting your name out there. I mean, with getting anything started, I mean, everybody can recognize Walmart, Target. Like, those are brands that have been built that are huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, you ask a lot of people of small town places, a lot of people don't know. So it's huge on word of mouth, huge on getting your name out there. You have to be very keen on quality and like the type of product you're putting out there. you have to ensure that it's good, that people understand what you're doing, they want to support you, because that can be your biggest thing is word of mouth, and your reputation is huge when it comes to anything, and that was a big hurdle getting started. I mean, I quickly realized when I got going that I went from a full-time paycheck and side work to just side work, so you lost that steady paycheck, and then you start realizing you have a lot more outgoing expenses because now I'm buying parts to do jobs and all this other stuff. And the big hurdle, like when I first got going, was capital. I mean, I was young and dumb, didn't have a bunch of money in the bank, didn't have somebody to give me a bunch of money to get going, and it was just make the stepping stones and do it smart and don't be stupid with your money, and just kind of gradually grow it. But yeah, getting that name out there and getting a reputation built was the hardest thing. I mean, now I have, and it's like now I have a decent reputation, we have a good clientele, and now we're just trying to build on what we already have to keep growing. And that's been key to building, because we've been constantly growing since I got started 7 years ago, and we're still pushing to see how far we can take it.
So do you think it's more on the advertisement side is where you gain the most traction? You know, like, okay, so you're working out of your garage, you talk about you quit your job, you're going to school, so you realize you were making enough money on the side hustle, right? That you were making more doing the side hustle than you were at your normal job. So you decide to free up some more time, so you quit the normal job to just work on the side hustle. I would imagine at that point, did the side hustle make enough money to cover your bills? Like I understand that the side hustle was making you more than your job working 3 days a week, but did the side hustle at that time like cover your bills as a whole, or did you kind of make the jump before that? Does that make sense? So I guess what I'm getting at is when you have a safety net, right? I feel like you kind of I could kind of kick back. You know, let's say you got 10 grand in the bank, right? So, I got 10 grand in the bank, I don't have to push that hard, right? Or were you like, let's just say, for example, bills were $2,000 a month, side hustle was making $1,500 a month, and you're like, fuck it, I need the time, we're gonna go for it, and I'm $500 in the hole. So did you do it that way, or did you go, okay, bills are $2,000 a month, and side hustle is making $2,500 a month, so I'm in the positive $500?
So I did it in that fashion. I wanted to be sure when I did it that I could at least cover my expenses, because I didn't have money in the bank. And when I was 23, 24 years old, I didn't have money in the bank. I was blowing every paycheck I was getting because the paychecks were little. Out hanging out on the weekends with friends, working on my truck, buying unnecessary accessories that were way out of my price range that I'd used 2 or 3 paychecks to set aside to buy one thing. But I made sure when I made that departure that I was at least making enough to cover my bills, so I wasn't in the negative.
Okay, so you had already, the side hustle essentially was making enough money to keep you, quote unquote, stable.
Yes.
Now, and this might be hard to remember, but do you remember roughly like how many months, or was it a year time span of like, hey, I made enough for 6 months, say, that, you know what I mean, I know I can cover my bills over 6 months, or was it like one of those things where it's like, hey, I did it fucking for 2 months, this is gonna work, we're gonna go for it?
So it took me probably about 6 months, because I mean, I left there in November of 16, and then I pulled my initial business license and kind of went full bore into it in May of 2017.
Okay.
And that was about 6 months in. I realized, hey, if I work at this and make something happen here, like I can grow this, I can make money, not just break even, because that was my initial thing. That's why I said I quit to go continue school and just have more free time, because nights and weekends I got all day free to be able to attend school. So I had that initial mentality of I can cover my bills with this. Well, then when I had that free time and I wasn't 8 to 5 at another job, I had that 8 to 5 open now. I could knock a few jobs out extra now, instead of it being $2,000 a month I'm bringing in, without really putting in a whole lot of extra effort in. I was bringing in 3 or 4 grand. So now I'm like 1 to 2 grand in the positive, which was a place I was never in before, because
You make
Working
that-
hourly, you're
Yeah.
basically living paycheck to paycheck. So seeing that how easily that was attainable, that was what made me realize, you know what, I want to kind of see what I can make of this.
Okay.
And if it flops, and I can always go back to school and fall back where everybody wants me to go. Or if it works, and I keep driving it.
Okay.
And the other big hurdle that I fought, and I'm sure it's probably the reason a lot of people give up on business, was seeing money you didn't have before, is keeping that drive going when you're in the positive. So that was something I had a damn hard time with.
Yeah.
Because I would finish a big job that I netted $2,000, $2,500 for this week, a number that I didn't make in a month before. And I'm like, well, shit, I got $2,500 of free money and everything's paid for. I ain't working this week. Yeah, well, that caught up to you real quick after you blew through that following week and didn't have any money coming in 'cause you didn't do any jobs.
Yeah.
So that was I guess a work ethic, because when you go from being an employee with somebody else telling you what to do, and you have to listen to somebody else and do it somebody else's way, when you go from that to you are the person that makes the decisions, you set your schedule, you decide how hard you work, you decide all that, it takes a mindset change to go out of that other routine, because you don't have anybody to tell you to get up in the morning and start pushing. You don't have anybody to tell you, hey, this job has to leave tomorrow. You don't have any of that drive. And so you have to create that drive yourself, and that was that up and down that I fought in that first little while. Was I'd be like, 9 o'clock, I don't feel like going outside, it's too hot. Then you push it off, and
Same thing.
yeah, then I put it off, and then next thing you know, to keep the customer happy because I gave them a promise date, now I'm staying up all night long into the next morning because I put it off too long and I didn't think about it. Now they need their truck tomorrow and it's not ready, and I still got 18 hours of work to do on it. And you come to a quick realization that you gotta set your own schedule. You gotta make things happen. You have to push yourself.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to business is what Dustin's speaking on, and the fact that, you know, everyone who doesn't own their own business or small business or something that they've tried to do at some point or never been through it, they think that we just get to walk around and be like, oh, I'm my own boss and I make my own hours. And I think you make a strong case there, and that's a dope, you know, your story, you know, how you're explaining it, it's so true. You know, in the beginning, let's rewind back even before, while you were still just doing it as a side hustle. So yeah, you're working 3 days a week, right? At that mechanic shop where you're doing tires and light duty stuff. You decide you're going to do heavy line stuff, which I do want to go into, like where did you learn how to do that type of stuff? I would be curious. I'd like to go into that. And then on top of the fact that you're going to school. So when were you sleeping?
Not a lot. So most of the time I was only sleeping a couple hours, 3-4 hours a night. I've been fortunate with school that school kind of came easy to me.
Okay.
So homework and stuff didn't always take me that long. I could knock out a long paper in a couple hours sit down. Didn't take me that long to do that stuff. So the school wasn't really a big offset. Yes, it took time. I had to sit through lectures. I had to sit through class. That stuff occupied time. But outside of that, in my regular work schedule, I really only lost maybe 5 to 10 hours a week for school, except for those days like when I was in that EMT program. I mean, that was 1 day a week, I believe it was, but it was 8 hours that 1 day a week.
Was it 1 or 2?
I think it was just 1 day a week. It might have been 2.
I think it was 2. I think when I went,
It might have been 2 days a week.
I think it was 2 days.
I think it was Tuesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursdays.
Yeah, it was Tuesday, Thursday, but it was 8 hours Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
And that was why I felt bad for that shop, because it wasn't like I could come in and work a half day because I needed a couple hours off of me. It was all day long. I was there at 8 a.m. in the morning and I left there at like 4 p.m. It was all day long. But yeah, it was a balance, because I mean, I did have to fight it. 'Cause, I mean, if I fell behind, like I would forget about a paper I had to write. Oh, now I'm staying up late because it's a midnight deadline, and I'm typing my last words at 11:58 to submit it by 11:59. Like, there's a few times that occurs. Like you're knocking it out and you're submitting what you got because you have to get something in. But I do have to say that helped a lot with time management, kind of figuring out your priorities, when to get stuff done. I mean, procrastination was an issue I had.
Huge.
I mean, it's huge when you build your own freedom. I mean, procrastination with stuff is a big problem.
Right.
And that was as soon as I had those jobs and was pushing for that school thing, I realized procrastination was something I had to fight through. And then, like I said, once I gave myself the more free time, luckily I kind of already had a handle on it, so it made it a little bit easier to manage that stuff.
So in that scenario, since you're already kind of doing it, you already were like, hey, let me just continue on.
Yeah, especially going to school and everything. You're already micromanaging your time pretty good.
Yeah.
So like, you figure out how to do that. A business kind of just comes naturally to that, especially if you're into it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're
Especially
motivated and everything. Like, hey, I can gross 10 grand in a month from having a normal job. That's like kind of unheard of having a normal job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think- yeah,
Like 10 grand a month is like gross is the
that's
the
a
goal.
lot.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
I think so. I think in the beginning, definitely. I think to make 10 grand a month, you know, in your pocket that's huge. You know, I mean, it takes time. You know, and that's another thing. I think a lot of these young kids think that, you know, you got social media, and I think I touched on this last episode maybe a little bit. I don't remember, but you weren't here, so. Social media and everything makes you think that you can just become this multi fucking millionaire over fucking night because you bought crypto or you fucking, you know what I mean? You created this Amazon selling thing, And it's not that those things don't make money, but nobody talks about the fact that, hey, I've been fucking with crypto for 5 years or 7 years or 8 years, or I've been messing with the Amazon thing for or I signed up for this class and I paid for this person's knowledge, and well, that person's knowledge, that guy spent 5 or 10 years, or you know what I mean? Like that's what all these men, you know, when you guys, you know, pay for a mentorship or whatever, that's what you're getting. You're not paying. Nobody in here is some magical fucking genius. We've just fucked up a bunch of times and we spent a bunch of years trying to figure it out. You know, everybody that we interview on this channel is going to be somebody who has spent years trying to figure something out. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, just listening to your story thus far, that's exactly what it is. You know what I mean? You spent however many years, you weren't sleeping, you're going to college, you're doing everything that everybody tells you to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think you graduated early, right?
Yeah, I graduated high school early.
We'll go into that. But it takes time, and it's hard work, and it's dedication, and you don't get to just choose your own hours and pick when you want to be here and when you don't want to be here, what you want to do and when you're going to do it. You don't. Like, I think in the beginning, working for yourself is worse than working for somebody else. Yeah. Indefinitely.
Dealing with a customer, just like just that in general. You can't just I'm out.
Exactly.
There's none of that.
You're your own worst enemy. I mean, when you're working for somebody else, you have somebody else you can make answer the hard questions. When you're your own boss and have your own business, you have to answer all those hard questions.
Exactly.
You're the one that has to make the decision. You're the one that has to put the money up. Hey, it all falls on you. It doesn't fall on anybody else.
Exactly. And I think that people miss that, and I think that a lot of the younger generation misses that. You know what I mean? They miss the whole point and the premise. And I'm not saying any of this to try to steer anybody away from starting their own business. I mean, it's totally worth it. Don't get me wrong, like hands down, without a doubt, it is totally worth it. But there's a lot more to it, and I think that by doing, you know, what we're doing and keeping the pawn mentality, right? And this is why these are things that I think that you can compare in your life to what piece on the chessboard am I? And I think this is how you become a pawn, right? Like everything he said has all been, you know, working hard and trying to push forward and grow and struggling and running through problems and not having anybody and not having any capital and all these things, you know what I mean? It's all, but what you do, you just kept pushing forward.
Yep.
You mean, and then you continue to grow and just see what happens. And you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
You're gonna win sometimes, you're gonna lose sometimes, and it's part of it.
Well, like I said at the beginning, that I had that king mentality. I mean, I thought when I figured that out right away, knocking those jobs out and making more in a week than I was making in a month, I mean, I thought I was untouchable. I mean, it seemed so easy. until you run into your first problem, and you get humbled real fast. You run into your first problem, you have an issue with a vehicle, or you have a warranty problem, or you have a job you don't have the capital for, and now you have to ask the customer for a deposit because you're not big enough and don't have that stuff going. And there's a lot of things that play into that.
So how does that work? Can we go into that?
Yep.
Can we go into how does that work? If you don't have the capital in your mechanic business to buy some pistons and rods or a short block, because it grenaded or whatever, right? How do you go about that? Like, especially in the beginning when you don't have the capital, you don't have what did you do?
So when I got started, like I said, I didn't have capital. I think I had a couple $100 in my savings account. I didn't have anything. So when big jobs would come in that weren't a lot of labor, it was a lot of parts cost, the customers, I would have to make the customers give me a deposit, and I would tell them, hey, I need a deposit to cover parts. Like, you can pay the labor and the little stuff at the end of it, but in order for me to get your job going, you have to purchase the parts up front.
And okay, so when you presented that to the customer, did you present it like, hey, and I'm going to be a little crude here, but I can't afford to buy these parts? Or were you more just like, hey, this is how I run my business?
So most of them kind of already knew my situation because they knew what I was doing. I was very personable. I mean, yeah, it was just me. I was working out of my garage. They knew who I was. It was very personal. So I would tell them straight up, like, hey, I don't have that money free for me to order this. I need a deposit from you to buy that. And they were fine with that.
That's dope. Did you ever lose any clients that weren't okay with that?
There was a few I lost. Yeah, there was ones I lost, or ones that didn't understand, and I had to push them away. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I would love to do business with you, but if you don't understand why I need it, I just can't do it. I don't have $6,000 to buy a long block for your truck, and then wait till it shows up, and then wait till it's done and driving and finished, and then you pick it up and then you pay me. I don't have that capital floating around. I can't do that.
Right.
And so it's like, I'll float you the rest of the bill, which is all my labor time, the fluids, the little stuff, but that big ticket item, you have to cover it. There's just no way around it.
Which it kind of makes sense, like,
Yeah.
in general. Like, if you don't have the money right now, what's going to change in 3 weeks?
Exactly.
Right.
And that was actually probably what saved me and weeded me out from a few of those customers. Because, I mean, I ran into that issue being in business now.
Oh, shit.
But, yeah, so that helped me weed out a few of the customers because, like you said, if they don't have it now, they're not going to have it in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's probably what saved me on some of those big jobs and not losing a bunch of money.
Well, I guess I never even thought about it like that. I guess, huh? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have the money to pay for the parts yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's to say that you're gonna have the money to pay for the parts and all the labor?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get people that question your integrity. I mean, they make sure you're trustworthy and stuff like that. So, like, if I ever had those type of people, I would just be like, hey, I'll provide you proof. I'll give you an order slip that shows the order place date. Like, I'll give you tracking numbers so you can see that I ordered it. Like, I have nothing to hide from you. I don't have that capital free to be able to purchase that for you. That's just the way it works. And like I said, but yeah, it probably weeded out a few bad ones. I might have lost a few good ones because of it, just because they didn't understand, or that's not how it typically worked. But unfortunately, that's how I had to make it work for me.
Yeah. I was gonna ask that, but I lost it.
So, doing that business, was ever a time you didn't get paid and you just let the car go? Or was it just like, I didn't get paid, the car stays here?
So that's a learning curve I had to learn the hard way. Handshake deals and a person's word are not as strong as what they used to be. I've always been old-fashioned. My handshake, my word is what I tell you. It is what it is. I had people that I felt that were that way, and they would skip out and not ever show up and pay me. I mean, there's been guys that paid me part of their bill, and hey, I don't have all of it. Can I make you a couple payments? Yeah, that's fine, man. I'll work with you. Don't ever hear from them. They block your phone number. You can't hear them. They see you in public. They avoid you and turn around and leave. But unfortunately, when it comes to money, you're gonna lose friends. You're gonna lose people you thought you could trust. It's just the way it works. And like I said, I did have to learn that the hard way. I mean, I used to do it, like I said, a kind of handshake deal. Now, unfortunately, everything is signed and recorded. We have text message and emails for approvals. We have digital signatures, in-person signatures. Like there's ways we do things way different now that I never thought I would have to do, but it's because of issues I've run into with clients when it comes down to paying the bill or thinking they can skate you out of some money. And yeah, unfortunately unfortunately that's just part of business in general. I mean, I had a guy pick up his truck and pay for it and then report his card transaction as fraud and try to get his money refunded. And
No.
yeah, luckily it was a guy from out of town, nobody I dealt with around here, but fixed his truck and got him on the road. And they have, I think it's 60 days. It's like 45 or 60 days, I can't remember, what you have to report like fraudulent activity on a charge. He waited to like day 44 and reported it. It was like 1 day before he couldn't report it anymore. Reported it. Well, when the card transaction gets reported, they pull it out of your bank account and it just sits in the company. The company holds it until they figure out which party is correct.
Shit.
Really?
Yeah, so like, it's like MasterCard. Like you swipe a MasterCard, business gets the money from them. You say, hey, that was fraudulent activity. Well, MasterCard pulls that money out of that business's account and holds it. You don't have it, they don't have it.
So MasterCard has it.
Yeah, MasterCard holds it. And then they go through the process, the litigation process, to see who's correct, if it was a true transaction or it wasn't. And then whoever has the burden of proof, then it goes back to that person.
And you have signed receipts and everything.
Yep, I have signed receipts. My credit card transactions say in person, so obviously you know what you're getting.
Wow.
Cover your ass.
Yep, but that's
a big
exactly it. You gotta cover your ass. And like I said, it's stuff I never thought I would have had to deal with. But as you grow in business and you deal with people you don't personally know, because I mean, I've got a big client base. Yes, I try to stay personal. We're a small town shop. I try to know most people, but don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that come through that shop now that I have multiple employees. I don't know them. I used to know every single person by first name, but I've gotten bigger now. I don't know everybody. And that's passerbys and travelers and stuff that come through. I don't know their history. I don't know their track record with other places. But that's just unfortunately the way business goes.
That's wild. That's wild. Damn. I'm like, oh, that's a fraudulent transaction after you've signed a bunch of paperwork. Like
It
how
happens. I do
Yeah.
buy your pay here.
do you? I was gonna say,
And I rent cars, so I deal with that stuff all the time.
really?
That's why we only take cash for down payments. It's very
Really?
easy to just swipe a card, take off with the card. Hey, I did not approve that. 1 day later,
Yep.
it's that easy.
Yeah.
You're kidding me?
That's also why I
Man.
don't do over the phone key in card numbers anymore. It's in-person card swipe, or now we have a like text message service where it goes to their phone and then they can put in their own card information.
So now there's some sort of
Yeah, so there's a trace because they have multiple acceptances. It shows it went to their registered phone number. So there's extra proof because we had that issue. We lost a couple of those ones like that where it was somebody called in, like it was a parent called in for a student traveling for college heading out. Well, then the parent called in and said that wasn't me, or I didn't authorize that use because the kid had their credit card.
no.
They didn't realize it was. They technically authorized it, but hey, I don't remember this charge. This wasn't me, and you keyed it in over the phone. You don't have any physical proof they were there. You don't have any physical okay, so you lose that battle every time.
Man, how many times does that happen?
Luckily, only twice that happened, and they were pretty far apart. I kind of forgot about the first one after it happened, and then the second one happened, and that's when we kind of changed our policy.
You're like, okay, all
Not
right,
doing
we're
this
not
again.
doing this again.
I remember why I didn't do that.
Get me once,
Yeah,
give me twice.
yeah.
Oh shit, what's that? Who said that's in the song? He's like, fuck me once, shame on me, fuck me twice, shame on you, fuck me 3 times, fuck the peace sign. That's fucking wild. Damn, people are crazy, huh? That's wild. They think
Some
they can
people
get
that
away
let
with it.
them lose.
People will do anything to get something for free.
That's what, and I guess I go through the same thing in the barber business, you know. I have people that come in and they'll sit down and get a haircut, and they'll be like, I'll get done with the haircut. And they're like, oh, Red, I don't have the money to pay for my haircut. I'm like, if you just told me you didn't have the money in the beginning, I wouldn't have cared. Or they'll be like, oh, hey man, I'm $5 or $10 shy on a haircut. Like, I don't care about the $5 or $10, like I really don't. But just like you knew you didn't have the $5 or $10 or any money to get the haircut, just be like, hey man, I'm kind of struggling right now. Sit down, I'll cut your hair. Like it's not it's just my time, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm out here buying motors and short blocks and long blocks and, you know, pieces. I'm not any money out of my pocket. It's just time. You know what I mean? And I
I
think
feel like I get one free swipe on you, buddy.
man, I'm gonna have to start looking at my credit card charges, dude. See if anybody's been like, I didn't get my hair cut by Red Beard. I'm all like, shit.
Yeah, it could happen.
That's freaking wild. I never,
surprised.
but everything's all in person with me though. You mean like I don't really like you stand here and I swipe your card and it's right there like.
Yeah, it's in person.
It's
So
in
I mean,
person,
but they can
that's-
still dispute it. And then the thing is if you don't respond to the dispute, then they just give it to the person because you didn't prove that they did it. So that's where it sucks from the business is you have to respond to that. Otherwise, they just automatically get the default win.
Yeah, if it's like $40, you probably don't even notice it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because I mean,
If it's like a couple grand, it's okay,
Whoa,
$40. You know?
yeah, I mean, because you can miss 40, 50, 100, 200 bucks in an account and not really notice it. But yeah, like
you
I
miss
said,
a
a
long block.
couple grand out of there, yeah, you notice that.
Like, hey.
Yeah, but that's the downside is you have to respond to that. Otherwise, they just default to the other
They
person.
just take it, they don't even care.
Yep.
They, like if you don't answer, if you miss, you don't check your emails regularly, you're
Yep.
fucked.
Yeah, you've got 30 days or something to respond, and if you don't respond in that time frame, then it automatically goes to them because you never proved that they didn't do it. So they're just gonna say, okay, you're right, you didn't do it. They can't prove anything.
That's a cutthroat world. I'm glad I'm not in that business. Fuck y'all.
Yep.
Let's see. So what about family members in business?
So my dad had a remodeling company was out when I was in my early teens. Started out was rather successful. The crash in 2008 was what kind of wiped him out with that. Combination of that and lack of capital management. Him and my mom ran that company. They did very well, but they didn't understand. My mom liked to spend money. My dad did too. They used it up, kind of like that issue I had when I first got going. You'd bust out and do a big job and then spend all your money and be like, oh crap, I can't buy the stuff for the next one now. Yeah, like I said, he had a business, or they had a business. I think he had it for 3 or 4 years. Did that. He was, like I said, rather successful, but then it was 2008 or 2009 when he closed down after the big housing crash and everybody couldn't afford to do anything. That kind of hinders a remodeling company. And nobody can buy houses and they're all losing
Yeah.
it.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
he's the only one. I mean, he now just kind of does side work because all he's done is construction his whole life. My mom's a nurse. She has been for quite a few years. Other than that, I don't have any other family members or anything that are in business.
So, I mean, since we're on this subject, I guess we can kind of go into it. That's kind of one of our questions, you know, your upbringing, you know what I mean? Do you think, or did you go to, who did you go to like as a mentor to kind of help you? Like if your parents were already in business, did you go to your parents? Did you go to some, you know what I mean? Like when you decided to kind of go out on your own, was it your parents? Was it like who'd you look up to? I mean, I'm just curious because I always feel that somebody always has someone somewhere. It may not be, damn it, I did it again.
All right, so back to the mentor thing. So, to be honest with you, it's hard to say. I really didn't have a specific person that I looked up to.
Okay.
I mean, my parents were both successful. I mean, my dad worked his whole life. I mean, he was a superintendent of construction companies, had his own for a little bit. My dad was successful. I saw what he did. I saw the freedom he had as his own boss doing his own thing. So, I mean, that kind of gave me the mentality that I wanted that freedom. But outside of that, I mean, I learned work ethic and my skills I have from my parents. I mean, I had a good upbringing. I mean, I'd lie if I said I didn't. I mean, I have an older brother and sister, but they're 9 and 11 years older than I am. So my entire teenage years from, well, technically 8, 9 years old was when my brother graduated and went off to college.
So you're only kid.
I was an only kid. So I mean, from 9 to 17 when I left for college, I was an only child. And that was when my parents were the most successful because, I mean, we were broke when I was a kid. I mean, it was 2 parents working hourly jobs with 3 kids. And I mean, I remember rolling change in the living room to go to the grocery store to buy groceries. And I mean, we didn't have crap when I was a kid. but that was where, like I said, I learned the work ethic. I learned to push through things and realize just because you don't have the money doesn't mean you can't get to have money. I mean, it was like, now my parents are now divorced, but I mean, my mom and her now husband, I mean, they just finished building a $500,000 home in Clarkdale that they built themselves, and I mean, it's probably going to be valued at over $1 million with the property they have, and she's a successful nurse that makes 6 figures a year. I mean, she pushed through. I mean, back then she was making $11 an hour, working hourly. I mean, but seeing them become successful, even though they didn't pursue a business path, you know what I mean? They just stayed working for somebody else. But I saw that putting your head down and grinding and pushing forward, that you don't have to plateau and stay somewhere. There's always a step up you can go.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my parents actually did a swap. I mean, my dad was the one that was the more successful one when they were together after my parents divorced. My mom's now the more successful one. My dad barely makes ends meet now. So it's like it went two completely different opposites of what they were when they were together.
Right.
But in that, I guess that kind of made me see that if you give up and get too stubborn and don't keep grinding, you could go like that. And if you keep grinding and work hard, you could end up like that. So it kind of gave you two different perspectives.
So that's dope. I think that's where. How old were they or how old were you when your parents split?
So I was 18 when they split, right after a year after I graduated high school.
Okay, so you guys were already together almost. I'd be curious to know if they maybe stayed together for you.
I 100% think they did.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they fought a lot. I mean, you could tell that they had their issues, and that we were a comfortable home. They didn't want to split it up.
Yeah.
So I guarantee, because I was within the first year of me being out of the house, my parents split up.
Split up.
So it's like I 100% think that they stayed together the tail end of it because I was still home.
Right. So you think? I think it's pretty safe to say. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of your upbringing sounds to me like it's a lot and will led you to kind of who you are today.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it sounds to me you got to see success and
Mhm.
failures and on both sides.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think it's safe to say you can attribute your success, or maybe that's who you looked up to, right? Were your parents?
Well,
Like the mentors.
I mean,
the other way too, I kind of looked at it is, I looked up to them as an extent, like to an extent, but I also use them as, I see what they did, I want to see how far I can get by that time.
yeah.
So I've kind of used that as a mentor as a stepping stone, but also a driving block to be like, all right, well, they were this age and had this. What can I do by that age or more?
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, I'm 32. My mom turned 60 in October. My dad is 60.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm 32, getting married next month. We have 2 houses. I have a business. She's a nurse. We're doing very, very well for ourselves. When my parents were 32, they owned a house that they barely could afford and had 3 kids.
My bad. And just kind of live paycheck to paycheck.
Living paycheck to paycheck and couldn't do anything else. It's like that's kind of what I use to kind of keep pushing myself, is like,
That's dope. That story is very similar to my story, and we'll go into that another time. But yeah, I mean, your parents almost guided you. It's not that you had a bad upbringing, but they almost kind of showed you what not to do.
yeah,
In a sense.
yeah,
At certain points in life, they showed you what not to do, and in other points in life, they showed you what to do. Right?
yeah.
It sounds like he had a good head on his, he has a good head.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
And I did from a young age. I mean, I always have kind of had a good head. I've been an intelligent person, and I can thank that to my parents. I mean, they didn't let me slip up in school. I mean, I did a lot of things quicker than I should, like he said earlier. I mean, I did skip a year of high school, not even like really trying to. Just I started college at 13. I mean, I did a lot of different things just to kind of occupy my time. And like I said, I mean, thankful to them because they're the ones that pushed me and kind of gave me that. But like you said, I mean, I learned from their successes and I learned from their failures. I mean, I paid attention to that, and I think that's the problem where a lot of people don't, is they don't pay attention to the successes and failures. They just go along with the lifestyle.
I agree with that. I agree with that a ton. That hit that at least for me, like that's. I'm the same exact way. Like I look at things that my parents did good, and I look at things that my parents did bad, and I guess I pick and choose what I think was good and what was bad, and it's led me to where I am today. You know what I mean? Same thing. Own multiple houses, rent a property, barbershop, this, that. I mean, we're always constantly trying to grow cars, boats.
Yeah.
Shit, got too much shit. The
I
neighbor,
understand that.
We just pulled a bunch of cars out of here, and the fucking neighbor was like, "God damn, Garrett, how much fucking shit you got out there?" Too much. That's dope, dude. I think. Okay. So now in the mechanic side though, right? In the business side, did you have anybody to ask, like, how do I start an LLC? Are you an LLC? Did you have anybody ask, how do I start an LLC? How do I, like, where'd you get your information? You had to get your information somewhere, dude. You didn't just, it could be YouTube, bro. Come out, fucking, I went to YT Tech, YouTube Technology Institute, fucking, it's all good, dude. Somebody.
Yeah, I didn't have a specific person to ask a lot of questions. It was a lot of research, Googling a lot of stuff, reading articles, calling the state and asking questions. I mean, it was a lot of just research, just trying to figure it out. I mean, I didn't have those connections, or at least didn't know how to use those connections if I did have them. When I got going, it was just a lot of trial and error and figure it out. Do the research, see what you can find, YouTube stuff, Google the crap out of it, read a bunch of articles.
Read a book?
Yeah, I've read a lot of books.
It sounds like you had a lot of drive. That's good.
That's dope. Yeah, no.
And that was, the drive was definitely key. And like I said, I didn't want to fail because of something stupid. And so I wanted to understand it before I made that move. I mean, I know Garrett, we talk about stuff all the time of debt and how to use it, how to have good debt and bad debt and all that kind of stuff. I was scared of debt when I got started. I made bad decisions when I was younger, financed stupid things, buried myself in debt. When I started this business, I have not taken out, I'm about to now because I'm trying to buy my building I'm in. But up to this point, I haven't financed anything. I made myself save up and buy it cash and do stuff like that because I was so afraid of debt. Well, now I understand, and now I've learned how to use that to where I can get a return of investment faster off of it and making a payment instead of spending all my capital. But that money thing was a scary thing in debt, and that's why I just wanted to do research, because I knew other people that had started business and they took out a business loan to get nice things to get started and get all this equipment, and then in a year or two their doors are closed up because they couldn't afford their payments and all their stuff got repossessed.
Yeah.
And it's like that scared the crap out of me, so that was why I did all the research, read books, read articles, and I'm like, I want to see the stepping stones and grow slow. I mean, that was kind of, unfortunately, I think I stunted myself a little bit because I held off on some things longer than I should have, but that's just stepping stones, things you'll learn the hard way. But yeah, that was, I just wanted to understand things. Like I said, I didn't have a mentor per se, but I just driven and looked it up and figured out and made myself do it. And if I submitted it and something wasn't right, then I would call and check on it. Hey, is this done correctly? Do I need to fix anything?
Right.
They would tell you, or they'd send it back. And, yeah, you need to do this differently.
I think that's where a lot of small businesses fail, right? So isn't it the statistic or something that 90-some-odd% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years?
Yeah, so it's like 90. I think it's like 75 or 80%.
Okay.
Of small businesses fail in the first 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
And only like 50 or 60% of those make it to 5 years.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think, and I want you guys to chime in on this because everybody here is a business owner. In my opinion, I think that's where people make the mistake, right? So in your case, you're a mechanic. In my case, I'm a barber, and in Hermes' case, he's a salesman, right? So Hermes can sell stuff. He's great at it. You can turn wrenches. You can work on stuff. You're great at it. I can cut hair. I'm great at it, right? I think the reason that statistic is, those numbers are as high as they are, is we spend all this time researching how to do whatever it is that we're trying to do. Right? You know what I mean? We're trying to figure out You know what I mean? How do I work on this? How do I work on this? What is ring gap? What is this? Do I want to mess with building motors? Do I want to mess with the machine work? Am I going to build a short block? Am I going to build a long block? Or am I just going to pay for it? How am I going to sell this? If I buy it at this cost, you know what I mean? You spend all this time trying to figure out how do I...
Buy it broken, buy it ready to go, make less money, make more money.
Exactly. So that's what your time is all spent on, trying to figure out how to do. But then you don't spend any time on how to create an LLC, how to use debt in your benefit. How, you know what I mean? How does a business loan work? And I'm the same as you. I've never gotten a business loan. You know, well,
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
yeah, I'm terrified. I mean, now, in saying that I've never, you know, gotten a business loan, but now I know how to manage debt. So, you know, we have an embroidery machine, as you guys can see. We make all our own custom apparel and everything. Well, I finance that. So, and that is a business, but I didn't finance it through the business. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't start an LLC and then go to the bank and go, hey, I want a business loan to start this company. We're all the same way. I was cutting hair in my garage. I saved up enough capital to do this, do that, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, the story goes on, and here we are. But I think so many people miss that. They spend so much time trying to figure out whatever it is that they're going to do and how to become great at it, even if it's cooking hamburgers or pizza or whatever, right? You spend all this time trying to learn how to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, and then you're like, okay, I nailed it. I fucking mastered pizza making. Right? I'm the best pizza guy this side of the Colorado River. And then you go, I'm gonna open my business, and then you don't know fuck all about any of it. So then you open your business and you create you start making it, you get this business loan, and you're making these pizzas, and you don't know how to advertise, you don't know how to market yourself, you don't know how to sell, you don't know how taxes work, you don't know anything.
Yep.
So then you've done the same exact thing as all these kids who go to college and put themselves in thousands of fucking dollars of debt to go get this fucking business degree, or to go get this I'm gonna fucking look at rocks for the rest of my life, or all, you know what I mean? Like, and now you're tens of thousands of dollars in debt, so you're in no better position than you were if you went to college. And I think that's something that I think we can help a lot of individuals with. It's like, look, guys, this is how you know, and this is going to come in time, and explain, like, this is how we started our LLC. This is how, once you get your LLC, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. But right now, obviously, the way that everybody we interview has done it the same way. It seems to be similar. We didn't have all the answers, so we know that way works, right? Like, we all know that working a side job and hustling and saving money and investing in tools or investing in whatever crap it is that you're investing in and putting in the time, we all know that works. Because everybody that we interview says the same thing. But now we have so much more knowledge that we could go get a business loan. But I don't know if getting a business loan is the right thing to do in the beginning. Because I think that you have to struggle and go through the bullshit and learn the steps along the way to become successful. I think that's how you become successful. But I think the start of that is learn whatever it is that you're going to do, figure out how to become the best at that, whatever it is, and then before you start the business, spend a little bit of time understanding how to open an LLC, understanding how to run a business, understanding if it's going to be something that you're going to have employees, how to manage employees. Like, spend just as much time doing that as you did figuring out how to do whatever it is that you wanted to do. I think you have a little bit better chance. I think we could knock that number down, right?
Oh yeah.
That 70% and then 65 and 80 or whatever the numbers were. Don't quote us on these numbers, hey, fact checkers. All you fact checkers out there, don't be calling us going, you stupid motherfuckers, it's not 70%, it's 71 and a half. Fuck you.
I trust his numbers more than yours.
Yeah, he graduated school early. I graduated. Barely, but I graduated. I had like a 3-point-something GPA, 7.5 or some shit. I was kind of not smart, but I did it. Damn it.
What I've been seeing a lot lately is when people want to start their own business, is some people realize very quickly that they didn't want to be a business owner.
Oh yeah, all the stress and the headache.
Well, so the one thing I learned where people have a very different understanding from what reality truly is they think when you own the business, you work 8 to 5 in the business and you go home and you're just home.
Yeah, right?
That is
time,
not how that works.
time to be off work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you work 8 to 5 doing whatever your business is, and then you go home and you work 5 to midnight doing all the paperwork and the management and the taxes and the bills and everything else, and then you go to sleep, and then you get up and you go right back into it. You don't get away from it.
Vacation?
Not a thing. Took days off, not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, you know, once you get going and everything starts rolling, and we're not talking 6 months, guys. This isn't okay. So just to give let's do a timeline here, right?
Sure.
So you're how old when you leave the other small business? When you go out on your own, how old are you?
24.
24.
24 was when I quit the shop.
And you're 32.
I'm 32.
So that's
I was 25 when I got my business license and decided to go full bore with this.
so that's 7 years.
7 years.
So 7 years of time. So now you and I'm gonna go back to this. You had brought up something about you were just now starting to pull money out of the business or something like that. How you're trying to buy the building you're in?
Yes, I'm trying to buy the building I'm in.
Right. So
Yeah.
so 7 years in, you're finally taking some money out of the business. Like what you said that? What do you mean by that?
So, because I said I was afraid of loans and debt and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
I'm getting a loan to buy the building, but I now have capital to be able to put a 20% down payment to buy my building,
Okay.
which is something I never had before.
Yeah.
So I mean, and like going back to like the vacation and the time off and things like that. I mean, I don't think I took more than a few days off a year for the first 4 to 5 years of doing this. I mean, they were 14, 16, 18-hour days, and that was Monday through Sunday. I mean, just because I wasn't turning a wrench on a car doesn't mean I wasn't doing paperwork and handling accounts and everything else that's the back end of it. And like I said, I'm 7 years into it, and I'm just now getting to where I have freedom to be able to step away and actually take trips and do stuff outside of the business.
Right.
But like you said, I mean, even though I still go on vacation, I pay for the Wi-Fi package if I'm somewhere that doesn't have cell phone service, or
Yeah.
I take my iPad and I take my computer with me and I have my cell phone available, because even though I'm on vacation in a different country or a different state, I still have fires to put out if they happen at my business. I still have questions to answer. I still have accounts that have to be taken care of.
You're never off.
You're never fully off. So it's like even though you now get to where you have that freedom, I have personnel, I have people that work under me that keep the business operating when I'm not present. But even though I have that, when you leave, you're never fully apart from it. I mean, you're still attached. Like we talked about earlier, when you go to that mentality and you're the one that has to answer all those questions, well, they can answer the questions to the end of their knowledge, but once they run out, I'm the one that has to make the final decision.
Yeah.
And if it's a decision that has a time frame that has to be answered, it doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. I still got to answer that question.
Right. And I think that's something that needs to be known. You know what I mean? I people don't understand that. People think, okay, so here you are 7 years later, and now you're at a position where you can take vacation, you can do this and you do this, but you're never really off. So if you are looking into starting your own company, your own business, keep that in mind. You know what I mean? It's definitely worth it. It's like if I could do it all over again, and I'm sure Dustin would say the same, and I'm sure Hermes would say the same thing. Like if we could do it all over again, we'd do it the same way. Like
Do it faster.
That was me. I would start it sooner.
Yeah.
yep,
That was the only thing I would do differently.
18.
Yep.
boom, going for it.
Craigslist. Looking at cars.
If I knew what I knew now, like if I had the same knowledge and information and reset, I wouldn't change how I did it. I just would have started this sooner.
Just start soon. I agree with that, and I'm the same way. My barber business I was like 25, 26.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, about the same time frame.
yeah,
I was 27, started one.
27. Yeah, and I will say this though, dude. Like, tell me what you guys think about this. I think in modern society, I think a lot of kids are like, I gotta do it right now. I think there is some. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. So I think there's something to be said about enjoying being a kid, right? Like, so when you turn, okay, let's say 18 to 21. I would almost say maybe don't fuck around trying to start a business 18 to 21. Only reason I say that, because at the end of the day, we're all still pretty young. Like everybody in here, I mean,
Yeah.
32, 32,
30.
30,
Or 31.
31. So I mean, how I explain it to a lot of the young kids in the barbershop is from 1 to 18, you live under your parents' rule, right? You're under their castle, their rules. They tell you when you can go out, when you can't. Okay, you turn 16, you get a driver's license, maybe you get a little more fucking freedom. But at the end of the day, like, hey, if fucking mom and dad say be home at 10 o'clock, you fucking be home at 10 o'clock, otherwise you're gonna take a shit. I mean, you don't have a fucking choice. So that's one portion of your life, right? So then at 18, now you're going back to being, okay. So at 18, you're in high school, maybe you became fucking prom king, or you're fucking this, or you know what I mean, you're head of the fucking whatever, right? So you're king shit. Then the real world happens and you're right back to being fucking pop. I mean, you're right back to fucking, you ain't shit, you gotta go to fucking work, you got bills to fucking pay, you gotta figure out how to, you know, whatever it is that you're gonna do. I think there is something to be said in kind of enjoying those times, 18 to 22, 23 maybe.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because you're an infant in the real world. Like realistically, now you're on your own, you're trying to figure it out, you have roommates, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with starting early, but knowing what you know now, do you ever think about what it would have been like to be a kid a little bit earlier? And I wouldn't even say that because you kind of got to be a kid. You kind of got to grow up and, like, none of us experienced that, essentially, right? Like, obviously, yes. Knowing what we know now, our businesses would be significantly further along than they are today if we would have started earlier. Okay. But, at the end of the day, at 32, so 18, you're fucking brand new. So what is that, 18, 28, 14, you're 14 years old in the quote-unquote real world. So we're a bunch of fucking teenagers, and we're fucking killing it. Like, let's be real, you know what I mean? Like, I would say we're in the top probably 10% earners in the fucking US. I think that's safe to say, maybe even more, right? So, sure, could we have started earlier, and with the knowledge that we have currently, yes. Maybe we'd be in the top 5% earners or something, you know what I mean? Cool. But I don't know, me personally, I don't know if I would say I would have done it sooner. Because I wouldn't have got to be a kid.
For me, what I do is my hobby in general.
Okay.
And it's been like that since I've been 18.
Okay.
So it's just kind of like, I've always been into cars. I always work on cars. I always kind of flip cars.
Okay. So you've always enjoyed it.
I've always enjoyed it, but for me it was more like my dad. He does not like cars. There's no money in cars. Now he works with me.
Right.
For me. And that's like the dopest shit ever.
Hell yeah.
But I always got told there's no money in cars. And then whenever I figured it out, I was like, fuck. I knew this. I knew this the whole time. I flip a car, make $2,000. I worked at a normal job, construction, Fridays construction, flipping cars, making more doing that than
Working.
700 in 2 weeks. You know, that shit sucks.
Yeah, no, for real. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, I see what you're saying. Like, you already enjoyed it, so for you starting early, you're being a kid now. Like, you're doing what you enjoy doing. And I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, I am too. Are you?
Yeah.
Like turning wrenches? Answer that question. I'm good.
Yes, I like turning wrenches. I guess enjoyment of it as a hobby kind of faded. And now I've found hobbies and other things. Because I used to love going home after work and tinkering with my truck and customizing it and putting accessories on and stuff like that. Well, when that's what you're getting paid to do all day long, and that is all you do all day long, you don't really want to go home and do that because it's not as fun to do on your own stuff. So it's like, yes, I still enjoy what I do. I still like it. It's not that I hate my job or anything like that. Like I still enjoy it, but if that's what your hobby is, don't expect it to necessarily stay your hobby. And it's like, and I've heard that across a lot of people. It's like, you turn your hobby into a career, like you'll never work a day in your life. Yes and no. I mean, you don't hate it as much because, like, if I have a stressful day or you had a bad customers you're dealing with or something, I can go work on the lift out back that's not by customers and not by other people, and I can focus on a job and tinker with it and get it complete, and I can focus it and enjoy it, and I don't think about anything else. So yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm working. But at the same time, when I go home, that's kind of the last thing I want to do is pick up a set of wrenches and fix my truck. You know what I mean? That's where it's kind of tough. Is that I do see that, and like I said, I do enjoy what I do, but I did lose my hobby essentially. And I guess like I would like to eventually get into racing. I mean, kind of my hobby now is kind of in traveling.
Let's say race car.
So I mean, like some type of racing, because then I think maybe that would kind of re-spark that hobby, because it's not just customizing or fixing my own vehicle that I drive daily. It's now something that's fast and not necessarily street legal and stuff like that. So like, maybe that might reignite a little bit of it. But yeah, for right now, like I said, I do enjoy my job. It is fun, but I kind of lost my hobby because I don't look forward to doing that when I go home.
Makes sense. I know where you're coming from. I know I missed a lot of that, but that ending on that, I know where you're coming from. I think for me, and I want to know I really want to know this answer from you and you. So you say obviously working on cars and everything is your hobby, right? Obviously this was his hobby, and now he's kind of like, I don't really know if I want to fuck with it anymore. Even now he wants to get a race car. You know what I mean? Maybe kind of dabble back in it.
Yeah.
That's totally understandable. I think what I've kind of started to fall in love with, dude, to be honest with you, like I love cutting hair. Don't get me wrong, like it's dope and talking to people and helping individuals and all that. But I'm really starting to I'm really falling in love with business, dude. Like business really fucking interests me, like a lot. Like I'm finding myself reading books about real estate and I'm reading a book right now, The Richest Man in Babylon. Dope book. Like that's all about the 5 laws of gold, and just how to. I don't even care about making money. Like I really don't. Like you can make money doing anything. Really, it's easy. You know, having the knowledge that you have now, like it's significantly easier. But business is just so interesting to me anymore. Like, and I think that's one of the things that drives the PAWNCAST or the Pawn mentality, at least for me, is. You're always looking for the next thing, right? You're always like, oh, well, what if I tried this? And what if I tried this? And well, how about we do this? Or you know what I mean? Like, and business, like learning tax codes and learning this and how can we do this and doing everything legally and playing the game and da. Like, that's just really interesting to me now. I mean, call me crazy, but it is, dude. Like I love cutting hair and I love working on cars. Obviously, we're all in the cars and we all, you know what I mean? Like we all have a lot of things in common, especially everybody that has to do with the PAWNCAST. But business is so interesting to me now, and I'm curious. Like, is it to you?
Yeah. So I used to enjoy factual information. Like I said, I was always into school, intelligent person. I enjoyed that stuff. So I've always liked factual things. Now, like, work out, go to the gym, do that stuff. It used to just be music, ride my bike or whatever, it was music. Well, now I find myself anytime I go for a run or go for it.
So pay attention to what he's about to say.
All right, so I realized with the interest rate they offered me, because I think it's only at like 1.9 or 2.2%, I think is what it is, something like that. I realized that if I kept that capital it was like $25,000 worth of equipment. Realized if I kept that capital in my bank account, I now have money if I need it, and my savings account right now I think it's 4.25%, so I'm making an additional 2% over what I pay in interest. But monthly my payment is covered by the labor that I sell for using that equipment. So in all essence, that equipment doesn't cost me anything because I'm paying for it by the work that we're doing. So I am making money and getting that equipment for free in the long run.
It pays for itself.
Yeah, it's paying for itself. And like I said, I will make more now off of it because the money I kept in hand that I'm making interest off of, using that equipment to offer additional services that I couldn't offer before, and come out ahead in the end of it. And it's like that.
And you have capital.
Yeah, and now I have free capital for other things. It's like, so Yeah,
Well, it's the same thing. I'm making 4.25%.
exactly. Even if I don't do anything with it, it's making money itself.
That's
so good, man.
That's a win.
Yeah, and so it was learning that kind of trick and being smart about your numbers. Like I said, that was where I was afraid of debt before. So afraid of it. I didn't want to finance anything. I didn't buy it unless I had the money to pay for it. And then reading books and listening to audiobooks, and he's recommended some to me. I've looked up a bunch. I've learned that information about that, the balance of numbers there, and you can apply that to everything. And that, it's like the house I bought. I mean, that's the same thing I'm doing with that. I mean, I've figured out a way I can transfer and offset some other cost with that. It's just a way you got to work those numbers in, and you can apply. Yeah, you can apply that information everywhere.
And just in case nobody, you know, I mean, to break that down to make it simpler, right? So if you are paying an interest, so this is the difference between good and bad debt, right? So when you go buy the new Lamborghini, or you decide you need a new Ford 6.7 diesel Super Duty that's going to cost you $1,500 a month, and the interest rate on it is 5%, and it doesn't make you any money, that's bad debt. Now, if you finance a tire machine or an inverter machine or whatever, you finance a machine that makes you money, now that becomes good debt. But you have to make sure that that machine, and this is what they call cash flow, that machine has to cash flow more than whatever the payment is, as well as cover the interest. And if you can find that, it's golden. It's a no-brainer. Buy it. Use your debt to buy that. And that's exactly how every multi-millionaire and billionaire play the game. Utilize bad debt. And then there becomes a bunch of things, and once you get an accountant, you can talk to them, where it becomes, now I can write off X amount of percentage of that particular item. It made me this much money, but it cost me this much money, so now it didn't technically make me any money, but it did. And you didn't pay for it. So you make money, but you don't make money, and you never put any money out front, but at the end of the day, you make money. I know it doesn't make sense, but at the end of the day,
once you understand it, it makes perfect sense.
Once you understand it, it makes perfect sense, right? And maybe we'll sit down, and I'll try to sit down and explain that in a simpler, like maybe we'll buy a whiteboard.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to do a visual.
We'll buy a whiteboard to explain that, because it
Glass board.
a glass board.
There you
We'll
go.
buy a glass board.
Backlit glass board that somebody can laser etch.
Is that not what I told you to buy before? Sorry.
You did. It's on.
Like,
there's a
some
list of
debt
things
is
you
good,
gotta
just
get.
straight
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Some debt is good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but based off of what I know about business currently, so my personal goal is to become this multi-billionaire, not because I care about money, but because, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, dude. Call me fucking arrogant, cocky prick, whatever. Dude, I want to be a fucking legend. Like, I want to be fucking known all over the fucking world. I want my fucking name to go down as history as one of the greatest motherfuckers to ever do it. And I don't care about the money. I want to try to help as many motherfuckers in the world as we can. And that's how I'm gonna fucking become a legend. That's what I fucking see in my head, right? So, my goal is to be billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in debt. But good debt, in cash flowing assets that make me money. That's the goal. That's what, I think that's what people don't understand. All these billionaires and millionaires in the world aren't fucking billionaires. They're not millionaires. They don't own anything. They're in debt. They have cash flowing assets. Like it's a game. You know what I mean? They don't make any money. As far as the IRS is concerned, they don't make money, because they have these things, or these duplexes or whatever that they buy that cost, say, $500,000 or $500 million or whatever the fuck, and the payment on that thing is, say, $100 million a month, but it pays $150 million in cash. So now you're cash flowing $50 million, and then you take away whatever expenses, So they're cash flowing, say, $37 million a month, and they get to blow that. And then at the end of the year, they go, hey, I financed, $500 million, so we're gonna, and it made 150 million each month. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now, now it became positive, so now we need to go buy something else, so we lose the money again, but they cash flowed it the whole time. That's the game. Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
There's a reason that all the millionaires and billionaires, there's a reason they tell you what their net worth is, not what they have in their bank account.
Exactly. Exactly. Because they ain't got shit.
It's what
in
your
their bank
assets are worth that gives you the value of yourself. It's not what you actually physically have on hand. Because like you said, that's the key, is balancing that cash flow and your expenses and working that stuff in the system the right way.
Yep. Working the numbers just to be in the green.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, be in the green.
Gotta be in the green.
Yep.
But you gotta be in the red to be in the green.
Yeah. It's all about a net worth, not a not a what's in your bank account.
It's a
If you're
balance.
winning more than you're losing, you're doing good.
Yep.
Yeah. But you have to show that in certain ways. And I think there's a lot of people in the world that won't say that.
Oh yeah.
They won't, and it's no secret. The information's out there, guys. Read a fucking book.
Yeah.
Pick up a fucking book, read it. We're gonna create a Discord, and we'll drop books in there. You know what I mean? We'll give you guys advice to read, and hopefully our plan is at some point to sign you up for the Discord, individuals who we interview, and then maybe you guys get a chance to, if you guys like Dustin or have more questions for him that we didn't cover in the podcast. We're still going, but I'm just saying, you can reach out to him and maybe he can help you out.
Yep.
Like, ask questions, guys. Don't be afraid.
Like, especially dealing with like business owners, like me, like in my personal field, like you don't need a bunch of book smart to make money. What I do.
No, definitely.
But for me, seeing somebody that has the book smart and has all the numbers, that's like, oh shit. Didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
Like, I see things in different ways, but I'm in a different line of business.
Yeah.
He's, in a different type of business. You're in a different type of business. So you're in the business to become a legend.
Yeah.
What are you in the business for?
Be comfortable.
Who do you in business for, Ernest?
I want to be free.
Free.
Yeah.
And you can't be free without money.
You're not wrong. That's so true.
And freedom, comfortability, that, like I said, that's what I want to just be comfortable. I don't want to have to worry about if I can afford to pay a bill, or if I want to go buy something, I don't want to think that, I can't afford that. No, I can't afford that, or I'm going to figure out a way to afford it.
Yeah. Do whatever I want.
Yeah,
I want to do it.
I want to have that comfortableness where I can do what I want, when I want, and not have to worry about it.
Same.
That's badass, dude.
My girl's like, hey, I want to go to Disneyland.
Look it.
Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Win.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a guy I follow. I'm gonna plug him, dude, because I really wanted to sign up for his mentorship, so I'm gonna plug him. Rob Bailey. I watched the thing, and the question success, right? Like, what do you deem successful? So to you, successful, and to you, it's freedom, right? And to me as well, success is freedom, right? I can do what I want whenever I want to do it. And he deems success based off of options. What options do I have available to me? What can I do and when can I do it? And that's dope. I stole it, dude. I was fine. I don't even care, dude. I straight stole that from him. That's a dope mentality. That's a dope concept.
Yeah.
I mean, like options and freedom.
Yeah.
I can do what I want when I want to do it, and nobody can tell me any different.
Yeah, the way he sees his options is how I see it. I mean, if you want something, make it possible.
Yeah.
I mean, be in the position where it's comfortable, where anything that's out there you can do.
And I think the only person holding you back from that is yourself.
Oh, 100%.
No, I don't know about you guys, but nobody's ever been like, you can't do that. And then I said, fuck you, I'm gonna do it, and then I made it happen. Like, nobody's ever told me I can't do that thus far, right? Now it might be different when you're a fucking billionaire or whatever, they come rob all your shit, but I don't even think then. Take my fucking shit. I'll fucking get it again, twice as fast, because I already know how to fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anybody in this fucking world that can tell you what you can or cannot do. Nobody.
Well, no. The only thing,
yourself.
you are your biggest limitation, because that's why most people stop or don't make it as far as they can or should, is they get comfortable too soon.
Yep.
Like, you get a good paying job and you're making a decent hourly and you get comfortable in that. So now you don't push for more. You have the things you want. You have a house and you have a car and you have a steady paycheck. You're comfortable. Why drive for more?
Yeah.
And that's where you have to push past that. Like, I know you and I have discussed it. Like, we want to see what is possible, not we want to reach it. We want to keep resetting that goal of, okay, we made this possible. Now what's our next stepping stone?
Exactly.
And that's where most people fall, and that's where, with business in general, I mean, I feel like that's sometimes the downside of it, because then they don't keep up with the times and they get comfortable in the position they're in, and then you fall behind, and then you're out essentially.
Yeah.
But
you go.
yeah, you just got to keep that drive going. You have to push forward and keep setting a new goal. You can't just, this is good enough.
Yep. You got to keep that palm mentality, dude.
Yep.
That's the palm mentality.
Get to the other side of the board and become something else and see what you can do with that.
And start over again.
Then you're upon again?
Then you're upon again.
Yeah.
You get to you reach whatever goals it is that you attain or wanted to, and then you set a set of new goals and you get to start right over again. So you're right back to being a pawn. That's why I think being a pawn is so important. And I feel like so many people miss that. So many people put the pawn down and say, oh, well, they're useless, or they're easily sacrificed, or I'm not a pawn because pawns work for people. Fuck that. If you look at, go back to the fucking medieval times, right? And you're a fucking knight at fucking war, and you go lead your guys to fucking victory, and then they fucking vote you in to be the king, right? Who the fuck were you on the battlefield? You're a fucking pawn. You're with your peers and people who are better than you, and you guys all fucking went on to fight a battle and you won, and everybody's like, damn, that dude led us to fucking victory. So we want him to fucking lead us in whatever the fuck it is. Right? So that was his goal. You look at fucking King James and all these motherfuckers, like, my goal is to fucking lead us to fucking victory. That's what they did. You know what I mean? And then they became the fucking king. And then they got fucking fat and lazy and fucking hid behind all their fucking disciples. And then their kids fucking were born into fucking the kingdom, and nobody respected them because they were not fucking pawns. They were just born into fucking greatness. And then fucking they're overthrown.
Then another pawn.
By another pawn.
Another pawn. Yep.
By another fucking pawn. Exactly.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's the pawn. That's why we're so anal about the pawn mentality, and this is why we say we want to hear what people think they are. That's the whole reason for the first question. And I think at the end of it, you get to make the decision of like, damn, like I am a fucking pawn.
Well, and getting the concept of where you've been explaining it and the way you kind of see it is like, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a long time since I played chess, but if I'm not mistaken, the pawn is the only one that can only move forward.
Yes. It can only move forward, and it's also the only piece on the board that if it gets to the other side, it can promote and become whatever it wants it to become.
And that is a great thing to have, because I mean, if you set yourself up to where you constantly are finding a way or making yourself move forward, then you'll never slow down. Like, it might not be a fast growth and it might not be quick and instantaneous, but you're always moving a step in the right direction.
All right.
Imagine what you could be, dude. Imagine what these kings of the world could have been if they didn't stop. Like, you know what I mean? If they didn't conquer this fucking land and they were like, all right, I'm good.
And give up and get comfortable.
Imagine what you could become if you just kept the pawn mentality for your entire fucking life. Imagine what you could create. Imagine what you could create for people. Imagine how many people you could affect if you took the same drive that you've taken to get to where you are today and applied that for the rest of your fucking life and never got comfortable. Imagine what that looks like. And if I'm the only person in my way to stop me from doing that, why not find out?
Yeah, guess we're gonna figure out how far we can get.
What's the worst that can happen? Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for where I'm fucking sitting, it's got me sitting pretty happy. Thus far, up to this point.
The worst thing that could happen is more texts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Fuck that. And then you just learn how to play the game more. I mean, you can go into that. I mean, you learn how to. Now, that's what they do. They funnel money into different countries that have lower tax rates on profits, and I'm not going to go into that, but
There's a lot of ways you can work that.
there's a lot of ways to play the game. You mean it? And it's all out there. All the information's out there, guys. You just gotta try to find it.
There's nothing illegal about it. You just have to do it the right way.
Just have to do it the right way. And nobody. Well, I mean, the government will come after you because they don't like what you have to say, but fuck them.
Yeah. It's literally wrote in their tax code on how you can do it.
Yep.
You just have to understand it and do it the right way. They tell you exactly how to get out of paying taxes. You just
Right
have
there.
to follow their rules.
It's easy.
Yeah, you can not pay them anything, and it's right because they told you how to do it. You just have to understand it.
And this goes back to, you know, what Ryan said in last week's episode or whatever, whenever you guys see it. Get a fucking good accountant.
Mm-hmm.
Find somebody that you can trust. Get an accountant. Do your own research. Learn the things so that when you find that accountant, you can ask that accountant certain questions. And if they answer incorrectly, that's not the accountant for you. Find somebody who answers the questions that you already know the answers to. And when they answer all the questions right, hire that accountant. It's that simple. And you guys can grow into whatever it is that you want to become. By following the pawn mentality. I don't even know where we're at. What question are we on now?
3.
Oh, here's a good one. At what point did you start to feel successful?
That's a good one.
Well, what is success?
Yeah, what is success? Are you successful yet? You cannot be, that's okay.
Is it 6 digits? Is it
7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, 10 figures.
So
8 figures.
I feel that I have become successful to an extent. Not fully successful. Like there's steps of success. I do feel like I have become successful in aspects, and I mean, I guess it's all about how you view it. I mean, I think the first step I made when I quit and went out on my own, I mean, that was kind of the first step to success. I mean, I became successful because I became my own boss. I mean, financially, no, I wasn't successful, but I was successful in my management and doing my own thing.
Getting out of the rat race.
Yeah, I got out of the rat race. I became my own boss. I can do my own thing. So in that aspect, I became successful as soon as I quit working for the other person. Then
Makes it.
yeah, and then if you work up past that, I mean, when I finally got to that comfortable state where I didn't have to ask for deposits anymore, and I've got the capital to afford that stuff. I mean, now I'm successful in the point that I have growing capital and operating capital. I mean, I can do things in this aspect, and then now I feel another level of success because I have that capability of traveling to some extent now. So it's like now I'm successful because my business has become successful enough to be sufficient without me present 24/7. And that would be where, from an outsider's perspective, that's kind of my judge on success now is I don't think anybody is truly successful in a business until your business can operate with you not present.
To an extent, anyway.
To an extent. And that's
You're
what-
always going to be present.
You're always present in it, but I mean,
But you're not there every day.
I'm not. You don't physically have to be at the building in the facility doing something for it.
Okay.
So like that's kind of my view. I mean, I have that success now. I have 3 employees underneath me. I mean, my business operates itself even if I'm not there. So the kind of a different level of success on that, but I want to keep growing. I mean, I want to get to where even when I go on vacation, I have enough people in place where I really don't have to make a decision. That there's enough people underneath me that can answer all those questions and do all those things. I'm just essentially the account holder.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be kind of my next step in success on that. So yeah, I guess it's kind of all a perspective on what you deem successful.
Where you're at. Do you think once you reach that point, and I mean I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you think once you've reached that point, you're going to want to venture into other things?
Yes, and continuing what I'm in. So my goal for what I'm currently doing is to get my current shop to a point where I'm off-site, off-hands, not directly involved with it. When that occurs here, I want to open another shop in a different city, not here. I want to open another location. I want to become a multi-site business.
Okay.
When that occurs, the nice thing about understanding business and doing policies and procedures and replicatable things is if I make this shop here successful and have the tried and true tested ways of things that function for me and made this successful, I can replicate those in another location. And that other location, as long as I cash flow things correctly and do it right, that other location is bound for success right out the gate. And then once that occurs, then yeah, I want to venture into other things. I mean, like I mentioned earlier with the nursing home thing, that's a whole different ballpark. That doesn't have anything to do with being a mechanic. And I would like to venture into real estate. I mean, yeah, there's other things I want to do, and I will get there.
Messed up.
Might not be tomorrow, might not be next month, but I will get there.
At some point, that's what it takes. It
Yep.
takes continually pushing forward. I think that's dope. I think every entrepreneur has that mindset, right? Like you're always constantly trying to grow. Hermes, we talk about it all the time. I mean, you're always trying to figure out, hey, how do I do this? I mean, look at the Prius rental business.
Mm-hmm.
Look at things we've talked about with that.
Yeah.
You mean I'm doing this currently, and I'm not going to put your shit up. I mean, but you're doing this, and then such and such is doing this, and then do I want to do this? But you know what I mean? You're always constantly. I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're always trying to figure out the next thing, like no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you ever deem. I understand where you're coming. You know what I mean? There are certain steps to success, or there's certain plateaus or what have you in success. But where do you end up deeming yourself successful as a whole? I don't know if that ever happens.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I would never say I've just reached the epitome of success, because there's always another step.
Yep.
I mean, you never truly hit the tip. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can in your own mind if you want, but
If you want, yeah, you can go, okay, I'm worth fucking $100 billion or $1 trillion, and I have multiple companies and own multiple real estate, and I've done this and I've done that, and I fucking own this yacht and do whatever I want, and I can do what I want when I want to do it, and I have all these people in positions where I don't have to be in there every day, and da-da-da. And I think you're still gonna want.
Well, typically the person that has all that because they can't stop.
yeah, because you keep driving, you keep finding the next step.
Yeah.
And I think it has nothing to do with money,
No,
personally.
no, it's just a drive to see what you can do with something.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I wonder what would happen. What happens if I do this? I don't know. Let's find out.
yeah, and you get to that point when you have the money. Now you have that capability. Okay, I'm gonna try this out, see if it works. Okay, well that didn't work. I'm gonna try something else now. Gives you that capability of doing some trial and error.
Yeah, I think that's dope. I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we only get one life, right?
Yeah. Might as
So
well-
why not?
Might as well enjoy it.
Or would you rather be the 9-to-5 guy that sits at home and plays video games every day?
Nope.
Gets 2 weeks a year.
Sits
Yeah. Maybe 2 weeks a
2
year.
weeks a year. Fucking
If he doesn't cash it out.
Yeah.
the highlight of your day is fucking beating your dick and fucking eating some Cheetos, dude.
Yeah. Budgeting your money out because you worked 10 hours overtime and made $15 extra on your paycheck.
Not nuts, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No,
It's crazy. I think grand scheme of things, a lot of it's how we're raised too. You know what I mean? I think me, you, like we've all seen different things. What do we want? What do we don't want? And I think our parents, and we as parents, I mean, I know you're a dad, I'm not a dad yet, you're not a dad yet, but I think you try to give that to your kids, right? I mean, you saw what your parents did for you, you try to be better than, you know what I mean, and your parents try to want better things for you than they had, and then you continue to do the same thing. I think a lot of successful individuals where they mess up is they give their kids too much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You mean, like, we didn't get to where we are because we got it handed to us, we got to where we are because we had a struggle.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, dude, but my kids are going to be broke.
Yeah.
Fuck them. They're going to have to get it on their own, you know what I mean? Like, but I think that's important. Like, that's how, what's that saying? Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men. Something along the lines of that. But it's true.
Yeah.
But imagine this, if hard times create strong men, and then strong men create more strong men, and then that fucking cycle and then just strong men keep creating strong men and keep making them have problems, you know what I mean? Keep making them fucking work. And okay, so now let's go back down to legendary or legacy, right? What if you could take your lineage and fucking 10 years or 10 lineages down the road, a strong man continued to try to create a strong man. Imagine what your grandkids could be.
Yeah.
If they learned all the fucking, you know what I mean? We learned all this knowledge because nobody we knew had it.
Yeah.
You might, you know, I mean, you might have picked up a book, or you might have known an old guy, or somebody's like, hey man, do this.
Or like I had a really good mentor, but only way I did it, not only way, but that is what. Like whenever I saw somebody, like for me, I lived in I had a 2-bedroom house, comfortable job, and I hung out with somebody who was making close to like 6 figures a month. My stomach hurt. I was like, oh shit, what do you mean you stay here? What, your rent is $9,000 a month? What? Why? You're in Arizona, why? Like,
Change your whole look on life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's, yeah, 'cause I mean, I hung out with people like that. I mean, not as a mentor per se, but like, that's what drives you to become more.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, like, I think about it now with being in business. I mean, I spend a month for parts and things like that, and what I used to make a year. I mean, my monthly bills going out are more than I made in an entire year when I worked for somebody else.
My tax bill last year was more than I made in an entire year.
Mine too.
At one point in life.
Yep.
But that's a learn. You know what I mean? We didn't have. Now my tax bill won't be that again. But we had to learn this, right? We didn't have the knowledge. We didn't know. And you are. I don't care what anybody tells you. Manifestation is real. You're a byproduct of the top 5 or 10 people you fucking surround yourself with. And if you have a problem in your life, look in the fucking mirror. You can solve it.
Yeah.
The only person's fault is it's you.
Surround yourself with successful people, and you will become successful.
It's that easy. There's no secret, guys. It ain't some magical fucking potion that we done fucking mixed up and put in our mason fucking jars. You know what I mean? Woo! We're fucking gonna be successful now. No.
Like Jordan's juice from Inflation.
Ah, Space Jam.
Ah, the
There
Michael
it is.
Jordan juice. The Space Jams. Though I think those 3 things. And then I think if I was to put a 4th thing in, actually living by a strong moral code.
Yeah.
If it feels fucking bad here, don't do it.
You have to build conscious decisions. So don't go out looking to screw people over to make a buck off of them. And that's another thing that I've seen people do wrongly too. And I mean, I'm sure that definitely with flipping cars and the money you can make, like, you can't make $1 million off of every deal that you do. You just need to make money off of the deal. You don't need to get rich every single time you sell something. Like, don't try to screw people over and be like, oh, I got triple my money on this. No, you don't.
Yep.
Make a good moral conscious decision, something you feel good about, and keep going. And then if you can make 100 of those instead of making one.
Exactly. You got one deal. One deal is not going to get you there. It takes multiple. It takes time. It takes time. And like I say, and it's really not that much time. I mean, it takes time, but it's not that much time.
Yeah.
We're talking 7 years. Your life 7 years ago was nowhere near what it is today. Your life 7 years ago, nowhere near what it's like today. My life 17 years ago, nowhere near what it's like today. Like, not even I've been cutting hair for 9 years. I used to cut hair in the corner right here. I used to cut hair in my fucking kitchen. I remember when I made $550 a week at my job, and I remember I made $250 some on a Saturday cutting hair out of my garage, and I was like, holy shit. And I was doing something I enjoyed. And now, if I go to work and make fucking $250 in a day, I'm fucking having a stroke. Like, what the fuck just happened? You know what I mean? If I make $550 in a fucking day, I'm going like, what the fuck happened? It didn't work. You know, like, where did I go wrong? Like, you know what I mean? And those used to be, to me, I remember when I made $550 in a week, and I thought I was killing it, but I was working for the band.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was paying the government first. That's rule number 1. Rule number 1 when it comes to fucking making money: pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Rule number 1. Invest in yourself. That's rule number 2.
Invest in yourself. You have to. And that's just like, even as a mechanic now, like, I know I work on cars very well, but I constantly learn new things about it. I go to classes that are offered. I have to continue my knowledge. I mean, don't ever stop learning, because as soon as you think you know everything, you're going to fail.
Yep. Exactly.
You can never think you know everything.
And I think, I don't know, tell me what you guys think about this. I think one thing that I personally struggle with is letting my foot off the gas. Because I almost feel like when I let my foot off the gas, I'm going to lose it all. Because there's going to be somebody somewhere that wants it more than me. And that's why I have to keep the calm mentality of always pushing forward. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I want more money necessarily. Like with Hermes, you brought up earlier, in order to attain freedom, you have to have money. So yes, it is a tool. But you're not doing it for money.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing it for freedom.
Freedom.
Like freedom is the driving force, or whatever your driving force is, right? But it's not money. Like there comes a point where I believe money in the beginning is a good driving force. But once you learn about money and learn how it works and you start making some of it, you start to realize like, hey, it's like when you're working 18 hours a fucking day or 20 hours a day and getting 3-4 hours of sleep, you're not thinking about all money. You think about, if I continue to do this, what can I do in a year?
Well, and you come to realize too, like when you're working your $550 a week job, you're excited because your bank account goes way up and then comes way down before your next one. You got to spend. Once you make some money and you have a little bit in your bank account, it really doesn't make a difference to you. Once your bills are paid and everything's covered, the dollars in your bank account really don't make a difference.
Yeah.
It's really now, what can I do with that? Like you said, the freedom you get from it. Like, yeah, it's a tool, but it's not a driving force. I don't care if I got 10,000 or 100,000 in my bank account. As long as my bills are paid and I got some freedom, that's fine with me.
That's cool. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the money. It has everything to do with freedom. Keep that in mind too. Keep that, if you want to become successful, that's what it takes.
Yeah, the money is your driving force until you got your basics covered.
Hell yeah, that's good. Where are we at, Mr. Hermes?
I think we're at the last one.
Let her rip. Tater chip.
All right. So, after all this, do you still consider? Well, whenever we asked the first question, you said that's how you felt like in the beginning, that you were the king. So, what do you feel like now?
I understand the pawn mentality, and I do think that's exactly where I am. I mean, I thought I was a king. You thought you were hot shot. You thought you had all the answers. I mean, you don't ever want, like, people like you say all the time, you think it's the bottom of the board and it's a crap piece. I mean, it's not though. You got to keep moving forward. If you get handed something or you have a high stature, you don't drive or you don't understand things like you want to, you got to be that lower level guy and keep pushing forward. I mean, the pawn idea and the pawn piece on the board is a key to keep driving forward and level up and start back over again. Just keep going forward. I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from with that idea, and it's a great way to go by it. Keep pushing that forward and moving up.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. The calm mentality. All right, guys. Well, that's that finishes up our second episode. If you guys have any questions, hop in the Discord. We'll see if we can get Dustin to hop in there and answer any questions you guys got. We can answer questions and go from there. We'll hope to see you guys next week and check back in. We're going to come up with a better exit than that. Peace.
Peace.